Hello everybody and welcome to this walkthrough of the text guides with me and Mr. RjTV. Welcome, sir.
What's going on, Tommy? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, you know. It's Sunday. We have a new tournament tomorrow. I've been drinking too much Coca-Cola right now, so I'm like overly excited as normal. So how there we go. How are you doing this Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm hyped, man. I just want to see a good game. I don't care who wins. I want to see a competitive game.
For me,
how about you?
I'm going to watch it at least until I fall asleep. But I honestly don't. The only one that I know that's playing is Tom Brady, as he's kind of famous. But I can't say that I'm cheering for the Patriots. I believe it is against the Rams. Oh my god, I learned so much, you know. No, but in this video we're going to go over the text guides. And the text guides you can find the link to in the video description down below. So click on it and then you can download it if you want to. And you can just take it whole by whole if you want to as well. Have in mind that this is general text guides. It means that I've been trying to describe as best as possible for the various type of winds. But it's not going to be like if we do have a 7 mph crosswind in the tournament, it's not going to be detailed in that way. If you want to get detailed and updated text guides that gets released during the tournament week, then you check out patreon.com/golf/Tommy and sign up for the ultimate text guide package, and you get those here before everyone else already on Thursday instead of a Sunday, and then you get the updated text guides during Tuesday during tournament week. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, jump over to It's RjTV, hit that subscribe button as well, and then you are all covered. So, hole number 1 in the Gridiron tournament. How do we play that one?
This is definitely a favorite for the rookies and the newer players. You guys get to use the quarterback. The quarterback is an excellent club to use here, as to where if you were going to use an extra mile, you would either be laying up a little bit or using some backspin. So why not take advantage of that great ball guide and that 100 accuracy? Your general quarterback, you're going to want to go with about 4 top spin, assuming you don't need a power 3 ball, so don't bring a power 3 ball. If you do bring a power 3 ball, you might want to pull it back just a little bit. Full left spin, and then sniper or viper. The reason why I say sniper here, most rookies might have a level 4, a level 5 sniper. That's usable, and you know the accuracy and ball guide is awesome. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. The viper is great, but I do recommend you bring a wind ball, because if you're ever going to get an albatross, it's going to be on this hole.
This is par 5, and I'm going to build on that like playing with a quarterback and not playing with a power 3 ball on a par 5 is very rarely suggested by us. And the reason for that is that it often are long holes that with headwind we need to compensate for that and have some distance. But this is one of the few par 5s that actually could be played as a par 4. As we can, like when we talk about pro and expert and master from 2nd tee and 3rd tee, like playing from the 2nd tee here gives you basically 2 options. If you do have tailwind, you're going to go full blast either with a power hook, or you're going to go max curl shot with a max overpower shot and try to go as close to the green as possible. If we do not have tailwind, then we're going to lay up, and then we can still use the quarterback playing from the 2nd tee if we want that. Then we lay up and then we approach the pin from distance. Master the same type of way. Any other form of wind except for tailwind, then we lay up. Otherwise with tailwind we're gonna go for it. And it's not that often we can say like that, but the big thing to have in mind here is the elevation adjustment for the drive. It's 10% that you need to over adjust. That's very important. So a very easy hole to start with, and that always going to be good. But I will say this, that if we do have a wind from 2nd tee or 3rd tee where it is tailwind, then I would say that it's almost a must albatross. And that is strong maybe for me to say that, but it's going to be a very good want to get it very close, if not on green, but very close to the green, even though it's a par 5. So we do go to hole number 2, par 4. Once again, we do have the option to go for green. What do you believe, my friend, we're going to do here on hole 2?
Well, I just said you don't need a power three ball. Well, whip one out for this particular hole. Now, one thing I want to make a quick disclaimer since we're still at the beginning. You'll notice I'm not saying specific balls. When I say a wind ball, you could use a Santa ball, or a wind five ball, or you could just go ahead and use a Marlin ball. I'm just saying knock down the wind a little bit. Whatever balls you have is the one that you're going to use. It's only when I say power three, power two that you gotta pay a little more attention to that. Just a disclaimer, 10% adjustment on this one. I like the white line. I like the white line for a couple reasons. We're going to the left side, which obviously is a white line, power three ball. We don't want to have to overpower. We don't have a very, very big fairway to land there, and a lot of us are going to have lower level extra miles anyway, so a great shot could possibly hurt you. A good shot, forget about it. You're going to want to go with about 1 or 2 backspin, depending on whether you got a wind directly in your face. You might want to back off of that backspin a little bit. Because when you see a ball guide with a tailwind, it looks like it's going to hit the sand, but it's not going to because it stretches out the ball guide. So you just trust the backspin or trust no spin. Me and Tommy talked about it. Don't go with any top spin. If you are unsure, take that black line. However, if you do get stuck in the rough or the sand, it should be a fairly easy wedge shot or sand shot. A perfect shot could easily get in the hole.
Yeah, and I really, really like the way that you explained in terms of like how the ball is going to react in tailwind, and I'm going to build on that a little bit because it's going to be important from second tee and also from third tee, of course. First, like playing from second tee and third tee is like if we do have tailwind, then we're gonna go for the green. If we don't have tailwind, we are not going to go for the green. That's basically like, yeah, that's going to decide what we're going to do. Sure, there is a possibility with crosswind and also maybe with some headwind, depending on what type of ball and club structure that you're using, that you can play through the trees on the right side. That might going to mess up for you sometimes as the trees are in play, that you're going to be stuck behind a tree or you're going to roll out, be in the rough or whatever, It's still a risky shot, but let's say it like this: tailwind, go for green; headwind and crosswind, we generally not go for the green. But if we do go for the green, we need to pay attention to just that. I do that in one of the video guides, like now before the tournament, where I do use 2 bars of backspin, which is good, but as the ball guideline is showing to put myself in the bunker, I do feel unsure, so I stretch out so I see the ball guideline on the green instead. Then I adjust my shot, which makes the ball bounce very long and I roll into the sand pit like behind the green. If I just would be relying on the fact that we get an extended ball guideline when we do have tailwind, then that ball would have been perfect. So instead of bouncing into the sand, I would be bouncing directly onto the green and be very good because it would be stopping not maybe by the flag, but at least on the green for a putt for the eagle. If we do have tailwind, this is going to be a 100% must eagle. Then we just need to make an eagle here, and that is why there is only one way in tailwind, which is the white line. If we do play black line, we're still going to over adjust with a 10% due to the downhill, but then we do have a short iron towards the pin, and with a headwind, that could actually be a good approach. Or maybe we do have a crosswind right to left in form of a crosswind right to left with headwind, then that could give us straight wind with a short iron towards the pin, which also is a very good opportunity, as then we basically just need to rely on hitting the ball perfect. Of course, we need to adjust it properly, but that is so there is some opportunities here. But again, once again, tailwind, we go for the green, even though you don't feel comfortable with it. But if you play from the second tee or from the third tee and will have something to do with the top in the tournament, you need to make an eagle on hole number 2 in tailwind. Hole number 3, I would say that this is one of the par 3s that I do dislike the most. I don't know what you feel about this one. I was about to say baby, but that's the wrong word. But so how do you play on hole number 3?
Okay, well, I like the way you cleaned it up. I completely agree with you. This is definitely not one of my favorites, that steep uphill incline. But you made a smiley face out of it. With the sand trap being the mouth, you got the nose, which is black, and the two eyeballs. So that just makes me feel a whole lot better. Personally, I like to use the Viper with about 2.5 topspin. The topspin is necessary because of the big hill. Like if you were to walk up that hill, you'd probably need to like bend over and grab stuff. It's a pretty steep hill. So going right up the middle, the lower neck of the hourglass looking shape, right where that black box is, right where his nose is the way I would go. And I would also bring a wind ball. Once again, wind it's a par 3 if we can get lucky enough to get it in, or maybe bringing a wind ball could be the difference between you landing safely on the fairway for an easy chip and possibly going into the rough. Wind balls always make sense on par 3s.
Yes, and you know, you can see the white lines as well here on the screen, and the white lines is showing directly into the rough. But yes, there is a rough bump here, and the rough bump is most likely going to be in play from the second tee. Not that sure on third tee due to if we do have headwind. I do believe that we're not going to have enough distance to be able to play the rough bump in headwind. In crosswind, it should be possible from third tee, but the rough bump in itself is going to be I would say the better way to get a hole-in-one on, but it also requires the exact adjustment to do so. And the adjustment is going to be slightly different depending on what the wind is going to be. Important as well is here, and something that I would like to talk about, is like we're going to play from second tee or third tee. And if we play according to the black line and bouncing ourselves up, then we're going to play downhill, because we're going to drop down to a point where it's lower than we take our shot from, which means that we're going to play downhill, and therefore we need to over adjust 10%. If we do play according to the white line, it's almost like we're going to play that one uphill, but I played without any elevation adjustment, and I played just as it is because it's at the same type of height of surface for where we do take our approach. And oh my god, so many hard English words there. Hope you understand what I'm talking about, but it is very important to have in mind, so then we don't add 10%. Win 5 ball if you can. That is crucial. As RJ say, can we reduce the wind? It's easier it's going to be. Make sure that you don't go short on the green. The green slopes downhill from there as well. Then we're going to roll down completely from the fairway as well. We're going to have a 50 to a 70 yard wedge, and that is never going to be easy to get in the hole. I do believe that we're going to see some pars on this one, and not just some. I think we're going to see more pars than we're going to see hole-in-ones. Absolutely. So, hole number 4, another short par 4 where we can go for the green, or what do you think? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I had this in my mind, and I got to get it. Tommy, you know I love you, and I know that English is not your first language, but you know I watch your videos like everyone else out here watching. Can you please say the name of the tournament just one more time?
Yeah, Gridiron. I've learned it. I learned it.
I was cracking up when you were saying gridiron or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then I quickly got somber, because I'm like, if I had to say that word in Swedish, I wouldn't have a chance.
No, so that's true. So. That you were wrong this time. I could say that's good. It's the same way where I was right with the colors way back as well, where you were saying pink and I said blue, or something.
Yeah, I remember that, the color wars.
Yeah.
All right, so hole 4, me and Tommy spent some time on this one. I was telling him the same thing I'll tell you. Well, first of all, 15% adjustment as it's slightly downhill, and an extra mile with a power 3 ball going with the white line. I like going full top spin, full right spin, 1/2 right curl. There's only one problem. Every time I take this shot, I land where the first white box is, I bounce where the second white box is, and then I either end up in that sand beyond the white box or somewhere in the rough. But I'm okay with that, because I feel that a shot, even from the sand, is much easier at such a short distance. And now I'm talking about the smaller sand that's, beyond the second one. You don't want to go directly into the sand, but a sand shot or a rough shot from there is still easier than where that second black box is, in my opinion. Now, you might not be able to hit a perfect shot when it's moving faster. That's completely understandable. And Tommy said, hey, RJ, there's very few people out there in Rookie who have a big topper and a berserker, but with the golden shot being free and the big topper coming out in tour 3 or tour 2, something like that, it's definitely possible, and that's why I could never get on the green. I didn't have enough top spin. So that's definitely a way you can go. You could use the big topper with the berserker if you have it. If not, again, it's my conclusion that even if you don't get on the green, you still have a very high percentage of chipping in. And if you're not comfortable with it, there's always the black line.
Yes, and that's the same for second and from third tee. It's just going to be very much more important from second tee and third tee that we cannot reach over, and we should not try to reach over if we don't have any form of tailwind. Then we should be always playing the black line, and we're going to lay up there. But first, when it comes to tailwind, here we do have the same. We do need some good topspin here to be able to do the double bounce over to the green. So we basically do a bounce, first fairway, second fairway, into the rough, over the bunker, and then roll out on the fringe or onto the green. It sounds very hard, but it isn't that hard if we do have the club and the ball for it. I would say a berserker ball could be good here as well from second tee, even if we do have tailwind and can reach with a power 3 ball, but it's better so we can reduce the fact that we need to use otherwise a lot of overpower, so we can play it without that. The same from the third tee. If we are going to have tailwind here, we're going to basically aim down into the water with our berserker ball. So we need to play with a berserker ball, or maybe we're going to actually pull out that snow globe ball here, because I also value the fact that I do believe it's easier to drop it from the rough or from the sand close to the green. Even though I hate sand wedge shots like more than anything, I still would be taking that by instead of taking the right side. But if we do want to play right side, and if we don't have the wind for it, like we do have headwind or crosswind, we need to lay up on the right side. It's very important that you play with clubs that do have backspin. The Thorn, even though you might love the Hornet, but the Thorn needs to be the club, as you do have the backspin, because the green is very small or tiny or whatever we want to call it. And also, when it comes to our long iron, we need to play with the Saturn or the Tsunami if we do have that one, so we do get the backspin there. Otherwise, you will not be able to go for the pin, as you risk too much, and then you need to lay up. Something as well also for the tailwind approach is that if we do get into the sand or into the rough, then you maybe have the Spitfire because it looks good or whatever. Choose the club with the best accuracy and the ball guideline, so you do get as much help as possible there from the sand and from the rough. So there we do have hole number 4, and now we come to another, not another tough one, but this is going to be the start of 3 very tough holes that we're going to have here now. So I drop the ball over to you, RJ, to talk us through hole number 5.
All right. Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. I have a mark on my notes here that hole 5, hole 6, and hole 7 are all tougher holes. Play them as conservatively as you can. Play them as without any distractions. We'll stick with the one we're on now. Of course, it is 10%. The good news is it's a quarterback hole, so for your accuracy, you're good there. But because it's a quarterback hole, I want us rookies to bring, for sure, a power 3 ball. Not necessarily just for the first shot. You might need to use some of it, but definitely for the second shot, especially if you clip the rough. I would go with full left spin. So I'm guessing Kingmaker because I like having 3 side spin here, setting up our second shot. Let's see here. So yes, full left spin. I'd go about 1.5 balls of left curl as well. And you want to have probably 2 top spin on your quarterback. Then you're going to want to bring your big dog as well. Well, not then, obviously, you got to have it in your bag by now. But make sure you have your big dog for your second shot. And again, a big dog, I like to call it a big sloppy because it's got that big target and a very small ball guide. So I was talking to Tommy again before we started the video, and we we're talking about not going for the pin, but going for the green. Don't blow up your opportunity at an eagle. I think a lot of people are going to get birdies here. I would be shocked at the number of albatrosses if it was over 1 or 2 lucky people.
I agree totally. The albatross will be very rare here from all the tees. It's like even if we had a tailwind the last time I had this one in the tournament and we could play over to the second fairway, it was still a very, very tough one to get an albatross, and even to even have the guts to go for it, as we had to go for the dunk. And that's the thing here. If we do have tailwind, the game makers basically eliminates the tough part with the drive. If we play from the second tee and third tee now, and that is that we're going to pull out a ball that is either the Titan or it's going to be a berserker. We're going to drive over the trees with as much curl to the left as possible and as much topspin as possible can, and bounce it either first in the fairway, in the rough, or over the rough completely, depending on the club that we're having, and roll out, basically following the white line. Because if we can get over to the second fairway, it's going to be a pretty easy one to at least get it to the green. But in the end, if we do have to play according to the black line, this is going to be a very tough par 5. We need to get up there to the top, otherwise we're going to struggle with the distance. I'm just thinking, like, let's say we would be having headwind from second or from third tee here. This is going to be a pain in the butt. I will have to word myself like that. Actually, it's going to be, I don't look forward to that if that's going to be, but that option, of course, always going to be there. We don't know. So if we do have that, we lay up, we play up according to the black line and just get it to green. Take this eagle and run as fast as you can to the next tee on hole number 6 and just be done with it, because I'm not going to go for the pin. My goal is to get the eagle. Then I know that I'm definitely going to be one of the, I would say, not few, but not the big mass. I do believe that the big mass with a tough wind here is going to get a birdie. So I will take my eagle if I can and just focus on the other holes to get something to drop. Hole number 6, par 3, another tough one to get in the hole. Not maybe to get to the green, but to get in the hole. So how do we play it from tee?
Yeah, just as you said, run to hole 6. As soon as you get here, though, use caution. Bring your backbone. Decent ball guide, decent accuracy, and once again, it's a par 3, so I would bring a wind ball as well. 10% adjustment is super important here, as you do not want to land your ball on the rough and end up in the sand. So I like going right up the middle with 1 bar of backspin and take your birdie.
Yeah, and that's the same we're going to do from second tee and third tee. Have in mind we need to over adjust with 10% due to the elevation here. If we do have crosswind or headwind, we're going to play with our wood club on the left or the right side. I don't think that we should be playing in the center if we do have that type of wind, even though it's possible, but I don't believe that it's going to be that easy to adjust for, as we do have a very bright sand. So it's going to be very hard to read the rings that we're going to play with. So therefore I play left or play right side, bounce myself up. If we do have tailwind, we can basically decide 2 things here. If we do play with a ball with more wind resistance and less power, like let's say we play with a power 1 or a ball with a lot of wind resistance, maybe a wind resistance 4 or 3 or 5, then we can play in the center with our wood club, and then we have no problem to adjust. Or if we do play with a power 3 ball, power 2 ball, power 1 ball without any wind resistance, I would say, then we can play on the left side as well. So have that in mind, that the wind decides a lot as for all the holes, but that is something to really think about. Then for the complete adjustment, we're gonna take it when the wind is coming. Hole number 7, and yeah, again, one I know there are many that hates this hole as as it's very tough. So let's see how do we play hole number 7.
I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible because anytime you see Tommy having all these squiggly lines, you know there's a lot of explanation. So for us rookies, it's not simple to execute, but the plan is simple. First of all, it's plus 5%, so it's ever so slightly downhill. We're going to go with an extra mile, and we are going to be taking the white line. Now, we're probably not going to be able to reach to the white box in terms of where we're going to hit when we land. That's probably where we're going to roll up to when we land. So, right side, power 3 ball. If you have a kingmaker, I suggest you use it to knock a lot of that wind down as well, because the fairway is like a teardrop, a real skinny one. So I would go full right spin, 1 back spin to ensure that you don't go sailing off into the rough up top or into the sand. Then your second shot would be a backbone shot right where you see that black box, again, on the right-hand side. Very important, 10% here. Normally I don't pay as much attention to the second shot elevation as much as I should, but there are so many people that are going to hit that rough right beyond that black box, especially if there's a tailwind, and they're going to roll right into the water. So backbone 10%. I'm not going to tell you to go with topspin or backspin because we don't know what kind of wind we have, we're going to have. All I'm going to say is look at your ball guide and remember the ball guide rules. If we have wind in our face, it's going to compress it. So if it looks like you're barely making it over, you're not going to make it over. If you have wind at our back, it's going to extend it. So if it looks like you got plenty of room, you may end up going past the hole and having to use your rough iron.
Yeah, and you maybe wonder, like, why do we talk about a way like RJ says, like a teardrop in terms of like where we're going to land? And the reason we are going to play that side, even from second and from 30, is that we need to get there to be able to get this ball in the hole for an eagle, get a chance for it. And also that playing on the left side isn't that easy as it looks. Like, even if you get it to the fairway, the pin stands in such a way that we're going to have to use a lot of backspin and also curl to be able to get it to green and to even be remotely close. So the the blue line should only be there if we would be having like a absolute very strong headwind in some form and we cannot reach in any form. Then that's why we have the black line as well. It's basically 2 ways. We either go directly over or we bounce ourselves over. Bounce ourselves over is possible if we play from the third tee with some good curl and stuff like that, but overall this is going to be a very tough par 4, and I would say be happy with a birdie. I remember I had an eagle on this one because I actually won a tournament that had this one in, which I'm of course super happy with, but getting an eagle here is very rare. So depending on the wind is going to decide how we're going to play it. But it is important with the elevation adjustment. We play downhill 5% for the first shot, downhill 10% for the second shot. So the ball is going to be affected a little bit more by the wind. I'm definitely going to be like breaking this hole down now when it comes out during the tournament when we see what type of wind. So hole number 8. Now I would say this is one of the easiest par 3s in the whole game, I would say. And there isn't that much to say here, I would say from any of us, but let's brief through hole number 8.
Yeah, 10% adjustment as it is slightly downhill. The problem with this hole is it's too easy. Hopefully you can figure out a way to always be within at least 1 yard to half a yard of the pin, because I think a lot of people are going to be getting aces here. And if you want to finish in the top 3, dropping an ace here at least once in the weekend round will definitely help that cause. Backbone is perfectly fine. And, you know, you can land where he has the black box. You can move it back, move it up. It doesn't really matter because it slopes. There's a slope from the top of the green, the top of the putting green down to the bottom. The thing that you really want to pay attention to is the speed at which you're coming in by the hole, so hopefully it drops right in.
Yeah, and that's like building on that, we can play it basically wherever. I like to use a lot of backspin on this one, so if I do have a guardian, I like to go directly onto the green using the backspin and aim so I am on the top right, like above the pin. Then I'm going to let the ball bounce one time on green, second time on the top, like above to the right of the pin, and then make it fall back down. You cannot see it on the picture, but like RJ say, it slopes from right to left, so this green is very forgiving. So even if you mess up your shot completely, you're most likely not going to be more than 3, 4, 5 yards away from the pin for a very easy birdie putt. Depending on, I'm not saying depending on the wind. I believe this is a possible drop for an hole-in-one with any type of wind that we are going to have. I don't think it's going to be harder. It's just that going to slightly change the spin adjustment that we're going to use. 10% downhill, important. And I will also say that it's important to use a ball with a lot of wind resistance to just make sure that you can get it as close as possible. I hope that we won't be seeing this one as a must hole-in-one, because that would be a first, but it's definitely something that if you do not at least make a birdie, I would say 99.9% of the players will make a birdie on hole number 8. Hole number 9, last but not least, we're going to end up with another tough hole if we don't get tailwind. So how do we play hole number 9?
Hole number 9, I feel, eats up a lot of rookies. There is a 20% elevation change going downhill, so you want to add 20%. And right where that black box is, basically almost as close to the rough as you're comfortable getting. So your top spin, you don't want to clip the rough or anything with all that top spin. You're going to be using full top spin and full right spin. But again, with a 20% drop, a lot of people are going to go sailing and hit that rough. And even with all that top spin, there's no way you're going to come out on the other side. So make sure you leave a little bit of margin for error. Adjust for that 20%. If you have an extra mile 7 or higher in rookie, you could get away with a Marlin. But I would say 6 and lower, I would go with a power 3 ball here. You don't want to overpower this because it narrows. You know, it's not the teardrop, but it narrows right by where that black square is, the first one. So you want to make sure that you hit it right there with the top spin and the right spin, and then let your ball roll up as far as it can on the second fairway there. Some people may clip the fairway, and because some people might clip the fairway and still roll out onto the fairway, I'm recommending you bring the big dog. I don't think very many people, even with the sniper, are going to be able to get the albatross here because of where the sand is and the way that it's kind of tucked in there. So bring the big dog, get yourself on the green, and set yourself up for a nice, easy eagle. Make sure you play as close to the right-hand side as possible because the green does slope downhill. The putting green slopes downhill from the flag, so you want to get up as close as you can to the flag. And that's all I got.
Yeah, and that was very well said, and it's basically the same that we're playing from the second and from the third tee. It's more, what can I say, it's more important for us from second and third tee to get some tailwind, because otherwise it's going to be tough to clear. Those of the players that have a driver in Pro and Expert that are like Apocalypse level 4 plus, or maybe a Thor's Hammer level 6 or 7, have a huge advantage if we're not having tailwind on this one, because they most likely can clear the rough anyway, at least by bouncing in to roll over to bounce in the rough, then roll out to the fairway. So I do believe that is, like, if we can't do that, we're not going to reach for the green in 2. That's not going to be possible. So then we need to lay up, like follow the basically the black line in the form of that we lay up before, and then the second shot we play over to the third black marker, and we have a short iron or a wedge. I hope we don't get that type of win, because then this hole is going to be boring, and it's going to get a general birdie hole for most of the people. Because if we do have to ship it in with a short iron or a long iron or a wedge, that's not a gimme. That's something that we will have to work a lot for it to happen. If we do have tailwind, let's say we have a strong tailwind, then we take out a berserker ball or a snow globe, then we go full blast down the middle and try to get as close as possible, and then go for the pin, and maybe we make an albatross, or at least get a safe eagle. So I don't know really what I want to have. Like, one part of me says tailwind, then we're going to lock in the eagle, no problem. One part says headwind, but then we're going to have like a must, then it's a birdie. But okay, let's say we have it crosswind, then we take something in between, then it's going to be tough for everyone, I believe, to get everything. So yeah, downhill 20%, very important. Second shot 10%. I like as well for the second shot to adjust a little bit further out to the left, to be able to come into the right with a little bit in a stronger way with curl. So I can basically curl it towards the pin and don't have to play that close to the rough and the sand on the right side, because the pin basically stands just behind the bunker and we don't have that much of an open shot there. So everyone, you know, this has been a long video as usual, but I hope you find this one very helpful. It's very helpful for us to go through it ourselves, to talk about it, to discuss, to think about it, and maybe for you that watch it the first time wonder why two grown-up people are talking about notes and text guides for a video game. To be able to play well, yeah, exactly. To be able to play well in a Golf Clash tournament, you need to take notes and you need to be prepared. That gives you a huge advantage over other play that doesn't. Like picking the right club, picking the right ball is so crucial. That is just what can I say? Yeah, we can't stress that enough. So I will say thank you for watching this video. And RJ, how is it with streams? I know you come on late on Monday, but you're going to stream this tournament, right?
Yes, sir. I should come on Monday at about 9 p.m. because I always have a doctor's appointment, 9 p.m. Eastern United States time. And then all the other days of the tournament, it should be right around 7 p.m. And Wednesday, I generally don't stream unless one of my accounts didn't make it, because it's just such, high pressure.
Yeah, and same, I'm going to change a little bit as well. Or like, I would say Monday, I'm going to play directly in the morning when the qualifying round opens. And I'm going to play Rookie, Pro, Expert, and Master, all the divisions. And I'm going to qualify some and some not. Then during the evening, I'm most likely going to come online again to play some Pro and Expert, most likely. And then Tuesday, I'm going to dedicate that to be Master qualifying day, as I'm going to take away Wednesday to just qualify something that I do have left to qualify. But I don't want to feel the pressure on qualifying on Wednesday if I'm not mess up my Master account on Tuesday. And I think that's going to be that's an important thing, because we do put a lot of pressure. Playthroughs will all be out for Rookie and Pro tomorrow with the tournament win. And then Tuesday, Expert and Master playthrough. Updated text guides gets out on Tuesday. So once again, check out patreon.com/golfclashtommy. So, thank you once again. And I will leave it to you, RJ. You say so well. So how do we end it here on the channel or in the video?
Hut, 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 hike! Oh, no, wrong sport. Happy stroking.
Happy stroking, everyone.